What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. Today's show, we're going to check out some Senior Bowl takeaways happened this past Saturday as we film on Sunday. And we'll look at some of the players that had their stock rise and had their stock kind of fall, especially the quarterbacks, because the other position groups just weren't well represented at the Senior Bowl outside of some offensive linemen and some key edge rushers. So we'll do all the, we'll clean up all the notes from the Senior Bowl and kind of bottle it down into a nice condensed version for you. Before we get into that, though, you think Hue Jackson is a complete and utter fraud after claiming the Browns paid him to lose, and then a couple days later hops on CNN and goes, actually, never mind, the Browns didn't pay me to lose games? Then go ahead and like this video. I said it from the moment I saw this story. Hue Jackson, no one would pay you to lose games. You just do it by yourself. You do it on your own. What a waste of an investment. Just let Hue be Hue and he'll lose on his own. Why would Haslam have to pay him to do something he's already very good at? What a stupid idea that was. So if you think he's a complete fraud, go ahead and like today's show. Now, we got some Senior Bowl takeaways. The Senior Bowl is always a mixed bag of nuts sort of to evaluate because, one, the game's kind of like the NFL Pro Bowl. It kind of sucks. And it's no disrespect to the guys out there. Props to them. A lot of them see their draft stock rise. And if they come from colleges that don't have big, pedigrees and backgrounds and not necessarily major SEC or Big Ten powerhouses, they don't get the spotlight necessarily, what they can do, which they can get at the Senior Bowl. But we do have some names that had some positive energy and vibes around it, not to sound like a millennial. And then some other names that just did not do very well. So, first thing first, the quarterbacks at the Senior Bowl. There were 6 quarterbacks there: Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell, and Malik Willis. And then Desmond Ritter, Carson Strong out of Nevada, and then Bailey Zappe out of Western Kentucky. A lot of people were looking at Bailey Zappe because he quietly put up a historic season in college football history, passing Joe Burrow's record for touchdowns and yards and things like that. But tough weekend for Bailey. He just did not look like an NFL quarterback at the Senior Bowl. With that being said, though, who's your favorite quarterback in this draft class? Let me know who your number one is in the comment section below. Personally, for me, it's Kenny Pickett, but I want to know what you're thinking, so scroll on down. Give me your favorite QB from this upcoming draft class. So Kenny Pickett at the Senior Bowl, in my opinion, he was by far the best quarterback. It's kind of like that scene in Moneyball where it's Kenny Pickett, then 50 feet of crap, and then the next quarterback. And he's the most polished. He's the most pro-ready. I don't think he's going to come out and light the world on fire when he gets drafted in April, probably top 10. But I think he's by far the best quarterback at the in this class, and it kind of showed in the Senior Bowl. Look at his numbers in the actual game itself. Also, I want to preface with in an okay week of practice, meaning he was probably the best quarterback, but he didn't set himself very far apart from everyone else, nearly as much as some scouts would have liked to have seen him. But 6 for 6, 89 yards and a touchdown. There's 3 quarterbacks, so it's like the Pro Bowl. You don't play much, and they alternate possessions after every single quarter. So it's hard to get much of a rhythm going offensively when it changes hands after at least 15 minutes. So with that being said, do you want the Browns to go out and draft a quarterback? I'd like to see Cleveland snag a wide receiver at number 13. But if you're out on Baker and you want to see them get their next quarterback and maybe sit this guy for a year behind Baker to learn what it's like to play in the NFL a little bit, then give me a wide for yes. Or if you're like me and you want a wide receiver or maybe a defensive end, submit your ends for no down in the comment section. This is the pinned comment, so if a YouTube ad break comes on by, scroll on down and get your votes in. For me, it boils down to this. Kenny Pickett is not falling to number 13. And Kenny Pickett is the only quarterback I would draft in the first round, especially after seeing the Senior Bowl. Maybe Malik Willis because of this crazy ceiling he has and a major upside and the raw talent just needs to develop a little bit, but I'm not interested in wasting a first-round pick necessarily on Malik Willis if that raw talent doesn't develop and you could have used it on what appears to be one of the best wide receiver classes since that 2020 class. It's only been 2 years, but still, I like this wide receiver class so much. I wouldn't want to pass up on one of them, like Garrett Wilson or Jamison Williams or Traylon Burks, for a Malik Willis, where, sure, he could be the next Patrick Mahomes, as one NFL GM or exec called him, but also, this is the NFL draft. And you know what teams in the media love to do? Gas the quarterbacks up to justify their pick for the quarterback. Just don't forget, some quarterbacks are taken in the first round because a quarterback has to be taken in the first round. They're at the right place at the right time. And to me, that's how this draft feels with Malik Willis and Sam Howell, potential first-round quarterbacks. I just don't see them in most NFL drafts being a first-round guy. And so that's why I get back to my point I was trying to make. Malik Willis, he played well, but he didn't play well as a future NFL quarterback. He played well for college quarterback standards. He did great things with his legs, super athletic, by far the most athletic quarterback in this class. He can scramble, he can extend plays. He's just a freak athlete. But in the NFL, so are defensive ends. And that does not translate well over to the pros, where in college maybe you can run around these guys, but in the pros, a lot of these edge rushers are just as fast as the quarterback. So it's a very different game you're playing. We'll check out other Senior Bowl notes in just a moment, but if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go on down and hit that big red button, because if you want free Browns content all off season long for the latest news and rumors, then you have found the spot for us. Join the channel if you have not already, and as always, if you've already subscribed, we appreciate you being a part of the channel, and let's get on with today's show. So, Senior Bowl stats for Malik Willis. Like I said, 2 for 4 and 11 yards. He only had 4 passing attempts. So I'm not going to read too hard into that. But it is a bit of a knock that his biggest slap in the face is he's not your pocket passer. And that's okay, because a lot of the NFL is kind of getting away from that. But still, you like to see him be able to stand in the pocket and deliver a strike across the middle. And I don't think Willis is ready to do that. And that's why, to me, he is clearly a project. He needs to sit behind a veteran quarterback and learn for a year. And that would actually fit pretty well with the Browns' timeline, because you got Baker on the last year of his deal. If Baker is crappy again next year, you're clearly going to go a different direction at quarterback, and maybe you would have a jump start on that by having Malik Willis sit for a year and learn behind Baker. But at the same time, I'm just not so sure Malik Willis is a future NFL starting quarterback. The Super Bowl is coming up, and if you want to bet on the Super Bowl, do it at BetUS. Go on over to chatsports.com/bet. Plug in the promo code Browns125 to get yourself a 125% deposit bonus. What does that mean? You put $100 in, for example, they put an additional $125 on top. So now you got $225 to ball out with. Maybe you want to do it with the Rams-Bengals, okay? Odds are moving, but this is what they're looking like right now. Rams 4.5-point favorites, over/under at 48.5. I kind of like the Bengals getting 4 points in this one, but I think the Rams are going to win the game, so maybe I will take the – I think I'm going to do Bengals plus 4.5 and the under. Super Bowls unders can be actually pretty sneaky. It's pretty boring and a sad bet, but I like the under in this one. So make your bets at chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code Browns125. Other stats from the Senior Bowl. A lot of Browns fans are checking out wide receivers because, let's face it, we need a wide receiver to replace OBJ and potentially the departure of Jarvis Landry coming up. 3 guys that sort of jumped out to me, but not fully. Velus Jones Jr. out of Tennessee. He had a good day, 4 receptions for 53 yards. One name the Browns were kind of looking at all week was Calvin Austin, wide receiver out of Memphis. Again, small sample size because these guys got to share a lot of reps with a big roster, so it's not getting a full game slate. You're really just looking for the reps they do get. It's a little bit like preseason. How much can they impress you in the short time span they have? Jalen Tolbert, he was very impressive all year at South Alabama, and I expect him to go in maybe the second round. And so if the Browns, for whatever reason, don't go wide receiver in round 1, these are names, minus Velus Jones Jr., I would look at in round number 2 or maybe even round number 3. Now, on the defensive side of the football, who are some players that stood out? Well, I would say this game was predominantly dominated by defense. No offensive player really took over. The final score was 20-10. And so to me, it was these guys right here. These are the biggest names that stood out to me. Boy Mafe, the edge rusher out of Minnesota. He was the MVP of the Senior Bowl. And then Perry and Winfrey, defensive lineman. He had a nice sack as well. Mafe had a couple sacks, a forced fumble. He was an absolute force to be reckoned with. And then Travis Jones, who, hand up, I do not spend most of my Saturdays watching winless UConn football, but he is someone worth watching. So 3 defensive stars that came out of the Senior Bowl right there. And what I'm looking at here for the Browns draft targets would be, in the second round, I have no idea what Andrew Berry wants to do. It all depends on, of course, of who he gets in the first round. If he doesn't get a wide receiver in the first round, you have to assume it's the wide receiver coming in the second round. But I'm going to assume they're going to pick a wide receiver in round 1, just for the argument's sake here. That goes to round 2 then of, I have no clue. I would think edge rusher if they don't get Clowney back. But even then, he may just look at the best player on the board. He may see another wide receiver he likes a lot, or maybe a linebacker to pair up with JOK. So those are a couple options, I guess we can call it, in the second round. Some other notable performance from the Senior Bowl. Chad Muma, the linebacker out of Wyoming, he made a touchdown-saving tackle on Malik Willis, so shout out to him. Christian Watson, very good wide receiver out of North Dakota State. That's an NDSU team that likes to run the ball a lot, so the wide receivers have a tough time sort of breaking through. But Watson, he had a pretty good Senior Bowl. And then D'Angelo Malone, an edge rusher out of Western Kentucky, also had a good Senior Bowl. So just as the draft process cooks up more and more, and you see more mock drafts, and the combine comes around and pro days come around, keep an eye on these names, because these are names that impressed in the Senior Bowl, and that's where the NFL draft starts, they say. So just keep an eye, keep some tabs on these names as the draft process cooks up more and more. Wrapping up today's show, I need your guys' help. I need a new TV show to watch. So let me know what your favorite show is. I've seen Ozark. I'm watching Ozark. So if that's your recommendation, don't say Ozark. But if you got another show for me, let me know in the comment section. I need a new show on Netflix or something else. So let me know what your favorite show is, and I'll give it a shot. So spam the comment section down below, and we'll catch you later here on the Browns Report.